Hi, my name is Amol Kalyanam, and this is my Keystone project. It's focused on if religions have fundamental flaws that contradict themselves and human nature. And no matter how real influential that religions are, the fact still remains that yes, religions have certain elements that are contradictory to their true purpose, and then they can also be contradictory to human nature. And this can be represented through Christianity, Hinduism, and Buddhism. So starting with Christianity is really focused on sins. However, according to Dr. Need Burton, a lot of these sins, such as hatred, jealousy, etc., are part of human nature. Therefore, it's inevitable for humans to sin in the macroscopic scale of a life. And trying to avoid sinning altogether would result in having to try to reject human nature at its core. Another reason why sinning is impossible to avoid is the knowledge of after death there's heaven and hell. Subconsciously, a person would want to go to either heaven or hell after death, and thereby the subconsciously or consciously they would make the decisions to try to get them into one of those two places. However, by doing that, they're inherently to making all their actions, they take a selfish actions motivated for personal gain. Therefore, it's impossible to avoid sinning in Christianity. So now moving on to Hinduism. Hinduism's real aspect here is focused on, or contradiction is focused with karma, which is essentially looking at the conscious actions of oneself and looking at whether they're good actions or they're bad actions and accumulating that, and it really just kind of factors into their afterlife and reincarnation cycle. The first main fault with this is that karma never goes away, as in it's passed from one life to another. So it's passed from a first life to a second life. However, the second life has no real knowledge or conscious knowledge of the actions they took in the previous life. Thereby, the karma of the current life should not be based off of the karma of the previous life. So therefore, it really makes no sense that karma is carried on from life to life. In the reincarnation cycle. The second fault is that karma can be erased, and this can be done through, one of the ways this can be done is through bathing in the Ganges River. However, the whole point of karma is that it's the total accumulation, good and the bad actions that the one person takes, and it really makes karma more of a moot point if they can just erase the entire thing through executing a holy action. The third contradiction is that karma can be transferred. This can be represented in Shiva Purana, where good karma is transferred from one person to another. This kind of takes away from the point that karma is the accumulation of one person's actions. It makes it more dependent on other people. And this brings us to the fourth point of the improvement of one's karma by the improvement of one's ancestors' karma. So one can actually undergo a holy ritual which kind of puts the ancestor more at ease and improves their karma, which once again kind of takes away from the point of one's own karma. So karma is really a really contradictory aspect in Hinduism. Now moving on to Buddhism, we're really brought to these four core teachings. So the first one is essentially saying that suffering is always present throughout life. The second is saying suffering is exemplified by negative thoughts. The third is that suffering can be overcome if you let go of the material world and leave humanity behind. And then leave all ties to humanity and the world behind. And the fourth is kind of depicting how you accomplish the third and how you kind of escape suffering. The three contradictions here is that, first of all, these teachings focus on how one should act in the present, but yet they're focused on executing the actions, executing the teachings of that which was brought by Siddhartha thousands of years ago. The second contradiction is that the first truth contradicts the third. So essentially, to summarize, humans cannot really escape suffering, seeing as it's a natural way of life, and so therefore the third noble truth cannot actually be escaped or cannot be satisfied, and humans will always have some aspect of suffering. The third contradiction is that by suffering, one is more attuned with the world around them and themselves, so thereby suffering can actually help achieve the end goal of Buddhism, which is achieving a nirvana or enlightenment by suffering giving them a better knowledge of the world around them and of themselves. So now to summarize, as we can see through Christianity, Buddhism, and Hinduism, religions do have core fundamental flaws, and so we can answer the question that religions do have fundamental flaws which contradict themselves and contradict human nature.